For my first section on Mr. Pandaria Beta, I will be going over the Warlock talents and specializations. Basically, every 15 levels you get a different talent, and so far they've been changing them every now and then via patches, but Warlocks have been steady lately and they haven't been changed for a while. So for the first talent, it's basically all about your health and healing. For the first talent, it's Dark Regeneration, which is a 30% heal for you and your pet, and you also get 25% heal increased by you and your pet. It's basically the exact same as your Soul Harvest was, but except you can use this in combat, you can move, you can still cast and everything else while you're doing this. It's a pretty good talent. I actually enjoy it, and it has a really short cooldown. The cooldown's 2 minutes. It's not too bad, but you can use it when you're in a tight spot. Soul Leech, basically your Drain Soul, your Haunt, and your Malferric Grasp all the damage it does will heal you. Currently it is bugged at this point in the beta, like it doesn't really actually heal you. It's kind of bugged at the moment, but whenever it gets fixed I'll update it and put a new video out. As you can see, there's no heals. The next talent is Harvest Life, which is basically it's the same as Drain Life is. It does damage and heals you, except this can hit multiple targets based on the radius of the original one you attack. The more enemies around you, the more you heal. And when you combine it with Soul Burn, you will get an increase of 130% of the heal it does. For your next set of talents at level 30, it's all about CC. Your first one is Howl of Terror, which it fears everybody within a 20 or within a 10-yard radius around you. And as an added thing, every time you take damage, it reduces the cooldown by 1 second. And as you can see, it fears all the enemies. Your next talent will be Mortal Coil, which is exactly the same as the Death Coil, except it no longer does damage. What it does is it causes your enemy to flee in horror for 3 seconds, and it also is a 15% increased health, and it only has a 45-second cooldown. As you can see, it gives you a nice big chunk of heal, and it horrifies them, which won't mess up any diminishing return with your fears either. And your final one at level 30 is Shadow Fury, which is basically a 3-second stun of everybody 8 yards around. Basically, it was the same talent in the destruction tree, it just stuns them all. Your next set of talents, level 45, is basically absorptions and things like that. Your first one is Soul Link, which is now you and your pet split 50% of all heals and 50% of all damage taken, which could be a good thing, but then again, your pet now has 50% less health, which I really don't find to be that great of a talent. Basically, you can see his health is pretty high, and with Soul Link, his health is reduced by half, but all your heals will go to him as well. The next talent is Sacrificial Pact, which sacrifices half of your pet's max health, and 200% of that will become an absorption bubble on you. And as you can see, I currently have 184k bubble on me. And then the last one at level 45 talents is basically a bubble. You don't take any damage for 10 seconds, but 50% of all the damage that it absorbs will become a damage over time effect on you. Basically, you have an immortal bubble. And if someone were to hit me, as soon as the bubble ends, 50% of all the damage I take with this on will become a dot on me. Next one is Blood Fear, or level 60 talent's all about. Level 60 is pretty much a really sacrificial spot. Like all your abilities, you have to sacrifice your health to use. The first one is Blood Fear, which basically all your fears are now instant. The only problem with that is every time you do it, it takes away 10% of your health. And it also gives it a cooldown, which replaces fear as well, so you have to use that every time. So it's basically a fear that's instant with the cooldown and does damage. Next one's Burning Rush. Basically, you get a permanent 50% movement increase speed, but every second you lose 4% of your health, which is, it sounds pretty bad, but if you have like a healer with you at all time, like this could be great for running a flag, but it will also be extremely health. You have to be cautious with your health, and it lasts until you cancel it, so you can basically control when you want to use it. And the last one is Unbound Willed. Basically, it purges all magical effects, all movement impairing effects, and all CCs. So it's basically like another trinket. It costs 20% of your health and it has only a minute cooldown. I mean, it's basically another trinket. It costs some health, but if you think about it, it could be helpful in situations when you're, like if you're in an arena or a battleground and your friend's partner or whatever needs to peel and you're CC'd, you can pop this and peel for them and that could save you. And it doesn't share a cooldown with your trinkets, so basically you'll have 3 trinkets every 2 minutes, which is pretty nice. Your next talent's all about pets. The first one I already have here. It's basically improves all of your pets, gives them all more damage, 20% more damage, stronger abilities, and more health. For the first one is the Fell Imp. He has a little more health. Oops, I have Soul Link on still. Alright. So he has a little more health. He has the same stamina buff. He can now, he purges your enemy, or purges you, and purges CC on you. He's basically the same, except now he has a new ability, which is a nice 12% heal. It hits you, does some damage, and then heals you for 12% of your max health over time. Not bad. Your Void Walker is now a Void Forward with more health. It has more taunts, and its newest ability is Disarm, which will disarm the enemy. Your next one, instead of Fell Hunter, is an Observer, which is pretty much the same as it is, except its Purge is now a Spell Steal. It can steal your opponent's buffs, and its Silence is now has longer range and does damage. And your Succubus is now a Shivara, which is basically a giant one. It has 2 swords. It basically has the same thing, Seduce, which is now Mesmerize. It can go invisible still. Its knockback range of its original knockback is a lot bigger. And it now has a little blade dance for its attack. Your next talent in that spot is Grimoire of Service. Basically, you can summon a second demon to fight for you for 20 seconds. It's pretty nice. It can be really helpful. Like, you can immediately summon a second pet with the original one, and it won't do anything but just its actual auto attack. So I personally don't really like this talent. It's just an auto attacking pet. Your next one is Grimoire of Sacrifice, which basically will sacrifice your pet and will give all your damage 30% stronger and give you 2% health a second. And you won't be able to use a pet while you have this on though. So basically you just summon a pet and sacrifice it and you get the buff. It also increases the damage of your Malfare Crafts, Drain Soul, and your Fell Flame by 180%. As you can see, a Fell Flame alone just does 28k, when on average does 10k. And for your final talents, basically they all have different abilities. Your first one, or one of them, I'm starting last for some reason. Basically all your range, or your AoE effects have a 500 increased radius, so doesn't affect that. Let's see. There you go. Rain of Fire is now, as you saw by the radius of it, it's got a huge radius now. Your next one is Kill Jaden's Cunning, which lets you basically cast while moving when you use it, and when it's on cooldown, you can still do it, but all your channelings or all your spells now take 50%, or now have like a 50% reduction of cast time. Like, you can cast, but the haste time of it is really low. Like, it casts twice as long. but when you actually use the effect, it's normal speed, but it only lasts until it's off cooldown. Alright, so for the last talent, it's basically a reflective talent. It has a minute cooldown and lasts 12 seconds. Whenever you use this curse, it will automatically reflect 50% of all damage you take to the person you cursed, and whenever it's off cooldown or on cooldown, it will automatically reflect 10% of all damage you take. As you can see, it takes some damage back. It's not really hitting me too hard, but anyway, that's about it for the talents.